Josiah McCready is a field sales manager for James Hardie, one of the country's biggest manufacturers of building materials. Josiah is an experienced business development manager specialising in the construction industry. He's got skills in negotiation and market planning, in account management and in sales. Josiah, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Cricket or soccer?
Cricket.
Why?
They're both very much a passion of mine, but I was probably a little bit better at cricket.
Right, because you didn't have to think about your answer very hard there. Is it all about your personal ability?
I think I invested more in cricket. Yeah. Growing up, played both sports, and then I'm one of 5 kids, so at a certain point I had to choose between soccer and cricket, chose cricket, and I invested a heap of my adolescence into the game.
Because rumour has it you have been known to play soccer, maybe not win every game, have been seen punching the ground, apparently in soccer games over mistakes of your own. Is that correct?
Yeah, it could be true. Could be true. Allegedly. Yeah, I'm super competitive. And I think in my formative years, I may have let that get the better of me.
And you do talk to yourself in the third person when it happens?
Super embarrassing. I'm trying to get rid of that habit.
You haven't succeeded?
No, I haven't. It's getting better. I beat
him in pool before he came here, so I was like, I've got to win this. Otherwise, I'll never live it down.
2 of the most super competitive people I know playing a game together.
He
Interesting.
Didn't punch the ground though, so he has improved. He has matured.
And you did win, Jay, just for
that.
Oh, I was going so well too.
All right, so you're somebody that is competitive, but you're also very methodical. You're very structured. We'll talk about your journey in your career, which is pretty important. But you seem to be someone who's so competitive. But how do you be so structured and organised and methodical as well?
Yeah, sometimes it amazes me that I'm so methodical and structured. I do think it's part like nurture and part nature. Like in reflection, as a kid, I always felt like I had a tidy room relative to my siblings. Like, as I mentioned before, I'm one of 5, so there was mess everywhere. But I did feel like I was pretty ordered. Like, particularly as a 6, 7, 8-year-old, I was, really good. As a teenager, less so. But I do think part of who I am is a little bit boring, a little bit methodical, very structured. But into year 4, I was homeschooled, right through to, the end of my schooling. So that definitely fostered within me the opportunity to be organised, to be methodical, because that would, give me the best outcome. So I definitely think part nature, part nurture, and who I am today is, because of both those things.
A little bit boring is not a bad thing, especially if the methodical, organised nature helps with your career, has it?
Totally, yeah. I think being disciplined has, enabled me to, move from being someone with, maybe little competence. We all have to start somewhere to work through, become a little bit more competent, get 1% better every day, every week. The compounding, effect of that, is based in discipline, based in the monotony of just doing the simple things right, day in, day out. And listening to people who, have more knowledge than me, and also like learning from everyone, the good and the bad.
You're competitive, right? So you want to win. You're methodical, so you have a staged approach, and you have a staged approach in learning, right? I've seen you're one of the best that I've ever met. And if you fail in something, you want to know why you failed, and you want to know how to fix it, and you want to implement it straight away. Where'd that come from? Like, is it something you've learned, like we just talked about, or something you're more conscious of? For what reason?
I think I was brought up to take responsibility for my actions and the controllables that I find within the environment that I'm in. It's a great compliment, mate. That's a pretty big call. You've gone across a lot of people. I enjoy learning. I enjoy the process. I think the person who enjoys the process goes further than the person who, enjoys the outcome. And that's been a big basis for, my learning, both consciously and, subconsciously. I think, growing up, as I referenced before, it was definitely instilled in me to take responsibility for the outcome I wanted, whether that was to save up for something, whether that was to make a rep team, whether that was to do well at school. My parents gave me the opportunity to move forward, but ultimately it was left up to me.
You talked about the, I guess, the learning part, and you always are about learning. Throughout your whole career that I've known you, you will sacrifice opportunity or sacrifice further income or more income for the sake of learning.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, that learning usually is the thing that advances your career and gives you more income too.
100%.
Yeah. So learning wise, why learning? Like what is that? Do you just crave knowledge because it does make you feel more well-rounded, or is it something that you want to become? Actually, probably going way back, you were somebody who wanted to master something before you could move on. Does it come from that?
Yeah, I think I can be a perfectionist. I think I've learned to take one step back from a perfectionist, because that can hold you back as well. Sometimes close enough is good enough. Sometimes it's not, and you do need to go to the nth degree. But perfectionism can stop progress. I do think, as a person, the experience and the process of learning just drives me. It's something that I get a kick out of, whether it's at work, whether it's sport related, whether it's with music, whether it's any hobby, skill. I just love it. Just love diving in, understanding, not just what, but why, how, all that just exhilarates me.
You learned differently, though, to the majority of people by being homeschooled for so long.
Yes.
For 9 or so years. What impact did that have then on you? Because you had to be self-motivated, and you clearly had the personality that meant homeschooling and self-motivation went together for you. That wouldn't necessarily have been the case for your siblings or for others. So do you look back and think how different life might have been if you didn't homeschool, for example?
I think, yeah, maybe. I loved the process. Like, I was given the opportunity to go back to school. I didn't even need to think about it. I was given the opportunity to play sport, to learn. I'd finish school. I'd start at 5, finish at 8, have the rest of the day to play sport, play music. So I got more opportunity in a lot of ways than most kids. So I'm pretty thankful to my parents for that. There's definitely some negatives to being homeschooled, which I've had to work through. But I think I'm all the better for it.
One thing you probably would have missed, and definitely the school I went to, you always had somebody to say, pull your head in, dickhead. What are you doing, mate? Clip you around the ears. You would have missed out on that. So your confidence would have been sky high, and probably your social norms might have been a little bit out.
Yeah, I do. I reflect on that going, like, socially, I was so awkward. I was terrible. I had no peer confrontation apart from sport. And most sports that I, entertained, I was, half decent at. So I probably wasn't bullied or confronted in a negative way. So, getting out in the real world as a teenager later in life or later in my adolescence, it was tricky. And getting into work life, I had to deal with some personalities that, weren't as easy as, my siblings or my friends.
Or your caring mother.
Yeah, my mother.
Oh, that's cool. Because, to fill you in a little bit, back to the learning and actually seeing this, in play, I actually was fortunate enough to hire Josiah way back in the beginning. And, one of those things that he wasn't aware of was standing too close to people, if you don't mind me sharing this. But I said, hey, mate, shake hands, step back, because he was actually standing too close to people where they wanted to retreat and get out of the room. And but you could see him straight away, next time he met someone, you could see him consciously shake their hand, step back and go tick, and then go into what he normally does. Whereas most people take years to figure that out. He's straight into
process. What do I do
learn,
next?
Process.
What did he say? What do I do? Done.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I see in you is not only are you willing to learn, you're willing to implement straight away. And there's so many people that do a lot of thinking and come up with all these creative ideas, but that's only 10% of the effort. It's the actual implementation. So there's been a lot of things that you have implemented. What's some of those, and why are you so good at that?
Well, I think like the why first. I think from a perspective of there's a competence model that's I think it's called the competence model. It starts with unconscious incompetence and works its way to unconscious competence. I think I definitely being talking about those that period of time. I was young. I didn't know much, so anywhere forward was a long way forward. So I did really have a conscious focus on listening to what best practice was, changing and applying what I'd learnt, because there's particularly nowadays, knowledge, information are at our fingertips. Being actually to have the nous to apply it is where the rubber hits the road and where you get the most impact.
So you mentioned sport, where that was you weren't picked on, you were able to excel in that, so it probably gave you a little bit of a soft landing around the homeschooling thing. But sport's one of those things that if you're good at it, you tend to have the confidence, but you also become a natural leader. How's that transition been from, obviously the upbringing you've had, the early stages of your career, but being exposed to sport and now transitioning into leadership roles?
Yeah, I think I've never seen myself as a natural leader. I've always been really good at following, really good at executing in a team environment, been pretty good at coming under leadership, working with it. And I say that to say, as I've moved into a leadership role, it's given me a really good sense and perspective on how to nurture my team to get that extra bit of discretional effort, to both build trust, to build safety, but still to push my team. Because I think that, as I've moved into leadership, I think people can move two ways when they move into leadership. They can be too dictatorial and be the dictator, or they can be too kind and be, someone's counselor or friend. So finding that balance, there's a book that's it's called Radical Candor. If you haven't checked it out, it's amazing. The premise of the book is that we want to challenge directly but care deeply, and I think that's in a nutshell relationships. If you're not caring deeply, you're being a dick. But if you're not challenging, you're not actually building the relationship and moving it forward. Because I think in business, in relationships, in life, having a good relationship, whether you're the leader or whether you're being led, is to be interested in the person or the context, the task, but also to be interesting. And for me, I think I was always interested. What I've found over the last few years, and I hope my friends, peers would back me up, I've become a bit more interesting.
Fair enough, because sales person of the year at James Hardie, huge company, huge achievement, something you'd have to be proud of. What was that? What were the big things there? Because your empathy is high. Your context is high. Your understanding of people's situation and also what is of value to them is really big. So talk us through sales, because sales is a skill that I feel is unmatched. It's a skill that you carry all through life, negotiations, conflict resolution, but the ability to be able to pitch or present something comes from sales. Talk us through your sales, knowledge or process and why you do so well at it.
Yeah, I think there's many approaches to sales. Some people have, a pretty hard sales approach. Some people are more soft. I definitely feel like in the negotiation table, I like to have an outcome that benefits everyone. It's more sustainable. Simply my process starts with the customer, putting myself in their shoes, understanding what their needs and desires are. I've got this little model that I use. It's around simplifying the task at hand, from what's important to the business I'm working for Hardie's, and what's important for the customer. What's the outcome that we want to achieve mutually? What can I do without? what are the parts that we can get rid of to make things simpler? And then how do I actually communicate, the value proposition, the output for both, internal and external stakeholders. And I've found that to be pretty beneficial, particularly around simplifying the process, getting rid of any excess, making the punchline, making the output very clear both for us as a business and our customer. Once you do that, you brush up on your communication skills, you understand about predictable human behaviour. I love learning about psychology. I think and trial and error too, you find out how people react and respond to
when you're standing
different
too
language.
close to them after
Exactly.
shaking their hands.
Don't do that. That scares people away. I think I learnt pretty fast.
You've clearly got some emotional intelligence though, then, that you can listen and learn, but also read a room well too. Is that innate, do you think?
No, I don't. I think I definitely learnt that, and it was a bit of a school of hard knocks getting into the construction industry. I felt like I had, an active listening skill, but sometimes what people are saying is not what they mean. So that took a while
A lot of the
to
time.
actually unpack. And I think that was one of the deficiencies of homeschooling, that socially I could read and comprehend language, but when dealing with peers, the body language side of things, it took a few years to get across. And once I got it, it clicked.
There are easier industries for you to have broken into. I remember you saying Jay gave you your first job. Was the construction industry an end goal, or was that the first job and you're still in it all these years later?
Going through school, I originally wanted to be a professional athlete. So I think
Cricketer?
that's where
Didn't we all?
Yeah, and my biggest regret, I got an opportunity to go to England, which I didn't take, and that would have helped me socially. But I look back now and I go, I'm so glad I didn't take that, because I knew as a cricketer I would have been decent. I might have made it professional. I just wouldn't have been, fulfilled by it.
It's a tough fork in the road, isn't it?
Totally.
A lot of things. Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I try to live my life ever more so than ever in the moment. Learn from the past, but the only thing I can change is the future. So, yeah.
So has the construction industry fulfilled something?
I love the construction industry. I know when I got into the game, my old man, I started off on nothing. My old man, pulled me aside and was like, hey, Joss, whatever industry you're in, until you're 30, 40, you work to learn. Don't worry about the money you're on, because when you deliver value, the remuneration will catch up.
And that's true. It's
totally.
a byproduct of what you learn and what you present and what value, you talk about value, what value you eventually offer.
Yeah. And also the enjoyment you have. Yeah, when you're delivering value, it's fun. It's so enjoyable. When you see, customers, peers, reports smile because you've taught them something, or smile because you've offered them something that they didn't think was possible, that's cool. And that gives me a kick.
So sales is a skill that you've obviously developed. You're really good at it, hence Salesperson of the Year for James Hardy. The biggest change I've seen in you is your time management now. You are somebody that protects your time. You go, here's my window. That's what I'm going to do well. I'm going to do so well within that window. But anything outside that, you start to sort of turn the tap off, if you like. But you also measure well your return on investment of your time. So if I'm going to spend time with you, we need to get an outcome. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. As I've moved to become a leader, I've needed to recalibrate that, because as a individual contributor, I was ruthless. I wouldn't do anything unless there was a return on investment. And I think as an individual contributor, it's not what you do, it's what you don't do that makes the biggest impact. And to know when to say no is the biggest contributing factor, as long as you've got competence to, driving an outcome. But as I've moved into being a leader, I've had to, zoom out a bit and look at it from a wider angle and understand that, there might not be an immediate return, but I'm investing in something that will have, medium and long-term consequences in a positive way.
Give us an example. Are you talking about time with junior staff members, for example? Or
Yeah. It could be time with customers as well. It could be time, investing in me that I don't think will have an immediate impact. Whereas before, I was definitely about, well, I want to get an outcome, today, tomorrow, this month, this quarter.
If I finish this leadership book, I want to be a better leader at the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's definitely helped me. But, it was great, but not amazing. And on the spectrum, it served me at that time in my career. But having a bigger perspective on return on investment has, in the time space, it's been a game changer for me.
Because when you're good at sales, you can get an outcome everywhere you go. So I can understand when, as an individual in sales, you started to want to allocate your time towards greater returns on investment because you want a greater outcome. And especially when everyone wants a piece of you, or you could work with so many different people. You're right, though. When you talk leadership, though, your return on investment in the moment could be perceived as nothing. Absolutely nothing. However, as you say, the bigger picture and the bigger journey, that return on investment can come later quite significantly. Remember Brett, we talked with Brett, and he allocated 20 odd hours a week to his key leadership team in high vis. And so you kind of go, well, that's a lot of time, but they're his key decision makers, and he obviously cares about time spent eyeballing these people. And I can see where you're going with that, because your return on investment may not be now, but it could be years to come.
Yeah, and the easy thing to do is when you see one of your guys doing something not necessarily wrong, but not efficiently, is to step in and do it. But the old adage, you teach a man to fish and he's not hungry for the rest of his life. It's so true in leadership. And I've definitely made a few mistakes in stepping in and doing rather than facilitating and helping. But I'm happy that, I'm learning from that. And I think my team can appreciate that, I've got their back, and that I will, not just help them in the short term, but have an eye for their future.
So given how ordered you are and scheduled you are, and that you want outcomes from everything, is there an outcome in downtime? Do you see the value in doing nothing and switching off as well?
Yes. One of my mentors, actually, he would always talk about resilience. And resilience is not, just bashing your way through life, through business.
And recovering.
It's knowing when you need a break and being self-aware to that, and actually scheduling in time to do nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's, it takes a heap more discipline to do that. Just sit with your thoughts, be honest with yourself.
Is it physically in the diary?
Yes, yeah.
Of course it is. He's structured.
Yeah, that's what I just wanted to double check. Definitely do nothing, yeah.
And I used to be a list person, and then I moved to scheduling time. Then I moved to scheduling time not just with things to schedule, but outcomes. And that's pretty intense for a lot of people. But I need to schedule downtime for me so that I can be the best for the business, be the best for my family, and be the best for myself.
Think about sport. Quite often your greatest growth and strength is in recovery. And if you don't recover, you get injuries, because everyone thinks, okay, I'm going to train 24/7, and eventually the body breaks. So why is it any different to, one of the biggest muscles in your body, the brain? You do need to let it rest and let it develop. Because some of my biggest ideas come from when I'm on holidays or when I don't have a busy day, because you've got that freedom to innovate. So you're right, the downtime is key, but who schedules it? Not many. It's crazy.
Yeah, I have some of my best ideas in the shower too. Just when you're decoupling yourself from, the busyness of life, the things to do. I would challenge people that, if they're listening to a heap of music, or, when they're going for a run or going to the gym, they've got stuff in their ears, just for 5 minutes, just have nothing. Just be with your own thoughts.
So time is key. You've got time allocated to clients. You've got time allocated to downtime. What's the work-life balance like for you, and how have you protected that? You're a family man now, drastically different. Your window of personal time is a little bit less. But what's that look like for you?
I've got 2 kids, a beautiful wife. Time's so different now. Getting married, having 1 kid's one thing. Having 2, that's just on a whole different level. And I think it helps that I am organised and structured, but I think that can also be a double-edged sword because you are so used to having so much margin because you're organised and structured.
3 other people have thrown your schedule out.
Yeah, and I'm not perfect. I'm learning. It's something that's new for us and new for me. But I think being present in the moment definitely helps with that. I'm a future thinker and I plan well. My wife's been great. Like, Beck's awesome. She centers me into the moment because the moment's all we've got. Like, we only have the moment. And she's been great on the social aspect and reining in, we're like 2 peas in a pod. She helps me live in the moment and I help her, plan for the future. So, and she's awesome. And we're perfect together. But that being present, it's not always the easiest thing for me, but I'm working on it. And the more I do that, the more I enjoy life. And the more I see my kids grow up, like, it's the best time. Like, when you see someone who's totally innocent, who relies on you, it's the best.
It's interesting when you're very goal orientated and you always have a bigger picture thinking. Paul Harrigan, the chief, he shared, have a little bit of Christmas every day, right? Which is stop, pause, enjoy the moment. Because a lot of people do say, hey, once I pay off my mortgage or once I finish school or once I do this, well, guess what? Time flies. And you look back and go, where to go? So it's good that you have someone like Beck to go, oi, snap out of it. I don't care about the future right now. We're in the moment. We're playing with our children or we're going to the park or whatever it may be. Yeah, it's pretty good to have that balance. Now, where do you horribly go wrong? Because, you do have a great success story in your career. You're a great family man. You're a great dad. What have you got wrong?
So much. I was definitely too intense as a younger person. Angry, frustrated when I didn't get my way. And like, that's pretty big. Like, I was definitely part of my upbringing. I feel like I maybe a little bit emotionally shut off and not present with my feelings. And I was able to function really well, but I was only able to function good, not great. So, Beck really challenged me to go see a psychologist, which has been awesome, and really helped me just compartmentalize what I can change that, and the things that I can't, don't worry.
You'd be good at that. As in, you'd be able to take that on board with your skills, the way you process and learn things. You'd be able to implement that stuff pretty well, wouldn't you?
You would have taken on the psychologist's tips, right?
It's so funny. As a cricketer, as a musician, you go to a teacher, you go to a coach.
Why not when it comes to your personality or
exactly
future?
Yeah. So, everything starts with our mind. Why don't we go have someone help us out? I couldn't recommend it any more highly. It's been amazing in all areas of my life, particularly emotionally, connecting with other people. I think, and you call out my empathy is higher. I would probably say my empathy has gotten stronger, because empathy is just putting yourself in other people's shoes and feeling what they're feeling. And as a younger person, naturally, you're probably less mature than someone who's just turned 30. But I do think having the help to process, why, for me, has made an enormous difference.
And in your case, only needed it for a certain amount of time?
Yeah. I'll go get checkups. But I think the groundwork has been done and been super helpful.
So you said you're just turned 30. Wow. You're somebody that's, had a great career. You've achieved a lot, family-wise. And emotionally, just sharing that was incredible. Very mature for your age. Really, really mature, because there's plenty of people who don't even have a clue where they're at in life at the age of 30. Tell us about also, because you seem like you box things up well. Okay, there's family, there's business, there's sport, there's mental health, whatever it may be. But even future, you have projects running on the outside of work, investments, and even your hobby/investment, I think, was the guitars. How many guitars do you have?
Less now. I got up to 35
What for?
at one point.
You can't play 35 at the same time.
Oh,
Do they all have a
no.
different
Maybe
purpose?
you
Or?
can.
Yeah. There's more than 35 days in the year, though.
I see. So hang on, were they strategic and made you money, or was that a serious hobby?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the easiest ways to make money, if you do have some level of expertise in something, is to buy something high or buy something low and sell it high.
Knowing its value.
Knowing its value. So I would set up save searches on eBay, Gumtree, Marketplace. And every week, once a day, I'd get emails come in. I for a while I was doing it daily, but then I thought, I can move this back to weekly. And I'd have 150 guitars that would be in my inbox. And to each of those guitars, I'd send a message, just an automated message. Hey, I'll offer you this much. And you'd only get one response out of 150. But the guitar that you bought for $1,000 was worth $3,000. So it's an easy $1,500.
Guitar stock exchange. That's exactly what it is.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and
You were just hoping someone wouldn't know its value or just needed the money. And
so
fire sale of guitars.
yeah, a lot of fire sales because a lot of people had a lot of them.
Right. They're
and
not
then-
35.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But I did have too many. I've got a little bit less now, but I loved the process of learning about them. I've had some bad experiences. I've bought a few guitars that never arrived.
Oh, okay.
So that's a lesson that you learn.
still
And you only
better
do
off,
that
though.
once.
They're called air guitars,
They are.
Boom tish.
Yeah.
Do you have a room that fits all of them at the same time?
I did. Yes, we moved, and hence I have less now, and 2 kids.
It helped
I have
pay the
less
mortgage
now.
too.
Yes. But it's a passion of mine. I love it. I love playing. I play with my brothers. It's just fun. It is a bit of respite from the craziness of work and life.
And not the only investments, guitars, but you also do a bit of property investment. I remember your first place, you worked your ass off and did it all up and created some nice equity.
Yeah. I love property. I'm familiar with it. My old man's background is in property. I've been saving up since I was 6 for a house.
Wow. Also very methodical.
Tell
and
people
very,
how,
very
because
mature.
You were somebody that bought books, not as in reading books, as in financial books, correct?
Yeah. My old man would help me out with what to get into, and
You were reading investor books when as soon as you could.
No, but also as in you could buy a book, loans.
loan book. Yeah. So my old man bought loan books, and he gave us the opportunity to get in one, and we did, and we've made good money out of it.
At the age of 9.
Yeah, a little bit older.
Yep.
A little bit older. Maybe,
Wow.
maybe the maturity of 9.
Sure.
So that now, obviously, in investment properties,
Yes.
do you see that's something? Let's talk about people in their role, advancing their career, having a good work-life balance. However, do you see people that they should invest in property or should have some form of investments on the side, and how do they do it?
Yeah. There's so many opportunities to invest. I like property because I know it, and I like property because I can leverage, the bank's money. It's a leverage investment. So, I prefer that over shares because I can leverage more. However, there's so many opportunities out there to, make money. And I think, don't do something you don't know, but there's people out there that are willing to help, that you can pay to get advice to move things forward. There's so much information online that you can dive into, but I suppose for me, I wanted to invest because, you know, at the end of my life, I just didn't want to rely on super. I wanted to, you know, use what I had in my hands to move things forward. Because, yeah, my salary, even if I could earn a lot of money, you know, compounding interest, a leverage investment, it works a lot faster and a lot further.
You're such a well-rounded person, as you've shared with us. What's missing or what's next for Josiah McCready?
There's a lot that could be next. I'm loving the season I'm in. So I think for me, you know, investing in my family, I really want to, you know, drive that home strong. You know, I've created these lessons, these music lessons, over 1,000 of them. And I'm trying to work through how how do I commercialize that?
So this is something that you've pre-recorded for people to buy a membership, let's say, and guess what? That develops passive income for you, correct?
Yeah. And I love it. Like before COVID, I thought, hey, I've got all this information, knowledge. I'm not the best musician ever, but I'm competent.
And you can teach.
I have taught, but like that's time. And if I was to teach 10 lessons, it would take 10 lessons.
So record it and give it to 100 people.
Exactly. So yeah, I've got so much content that I can share, just trying to work out how I, you know, best position that in the marketplace.
Talk about being a master. Like I said, he needed to be a perfectionist. Who records 1,000 lessons and just sits them there until they're ready
Just
to
in
go?
case they're ready to monetize. I don't know.
Yeah.
So given that, Josiah, good business, a good career, luck or hard work?
There's definitely hard work there. I've been able to, you know, within my control, move things forward in my career. But I can't say it's all me. You know, I've been pretty blessed to be, you know, positioned well in my upbringing, you know, to cross paths with some awesome mentors. So there's some things that I've been able to control. There's others that, you know, that I haven't, and that have worked out both in a positive way and in a negative way. So I do think, you know, I've been given a really good opportunity to succeed, and I'm thankful for that. But I also am proud that I've been able to knuckle down, move forward, and hopefully now, like, I'm positioned to help other people.
We've loved learning from you this first part of your journey, and I can't wait to learn the guitar from you. Josiah, thanks for being part of the podcast.
Thanks for having me.